Today, we are working on the Oklahoma State Test Review Day 2. Name on the left, Day 2 on the right. Here we go. A thermometer showed a temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. This equation can be used to find temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit, F, given the temperature in degrees Celsius, C. This is the equation they are talking about. What is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit? So, what they are giving you is Celsius equals 40. That's C. C equals 40. With the formula, or the equation, 9C equals 5 times F minus 32. We are given C. What do you think they want us to do with that value for C? What do they want us to do? Plug it in. We're going to substitute. So I'm going to plug in. I have 9 times 40 equals 5 times F minus 32. Now, this is a multi-step equation. And I wonder if you guys remember what we use for multi-step equations. Don't call me after midnight. What does D stand for? Distribute. Good job. What does C stand for? Combine like terms. M, the first M. Move the variable. Good. And that's only if you have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. You need to move one of the variables if you have a variable on both sides. A, undo what? Addition and subtraction. And then M, undo what? Multiplication and division. For D, distribute. Do you see parentheses on either side of the equal sign? Yes. Now on the left side, it's just 9 times 40. You just multiply that out. What's 9 times 40? 360. On the right side, though, we have to use what? The distributive property. Who remembers how? How do we do you take the number on the outside and what do? Multiply. Good. Multiply. So I'm going to do 5 times F. What's in front of that F that you cannot see? The windy one. You cannot see it, but you must know it's there, like the wind. So we're doing 5 times 1F, which is what? 5F. Good. And now we're going to do 5 times what? What kind of 32? Negative 32. So what is 5 times negative 32? Negative what? 160. Good. So now we have 5F minus 160. Now, do we have any more parentheses? No, we are done with that step. C, combine like terms. Any like terms to combine here? What about over here? Nope, you can't combine those. Those are not alike. So we're going to M, move the variable. Now, this one, you only need it if you have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. Do we have a variable on both sides of the equal sign here? No, so we don't need this step. We are down to A, undo any addition or subtraction. Do we have any addition or subtraction? Yes. What do we have? The 160 is being subtracted. How do you undo subtraction? Very good. So I'm going to add 160. What you do to one side, you do to the other. What is 360 plus 160? 520. Good job. Bring down your 5F. And we are done with undoing any addition or subtraction. Now we are on the last step. Undo multiplication or division. What does it mean when a number is right next to a variable? Multiply. So that 5 is right next to the F. They are being multiplied. How do I undo that? With division. What am I going to divide by? Good. What you do to one side, You must do to the other. Fantastic. What is 520 divided by 5? It's 104. A, B, C, or D? C. 104. Number 11. The total amount of money in dollars Sandy earns for working 8 hours is represented by this expression. This is the expression. How much money does Sandy earn for working 35 hours? What did they just give us here? 35 hours. They gave us a value for something. They gave us the value for what? H. H equals 35. And then they gave us the expression 15H. What do you think they want us to do? Plug in 35 and multiply 15 times 35. 525. A, B, C, or D? C. Very good. Number 12. Complete these equations. Select the numbers you want to choose and drag and drop them into the boxes. Now, obviously, on your paper, you will not be dragging and dropping anything. We're just going to write it in. But on Teacher Made, you will be able to drag and drop. So let's look right here. If x equals 3, then 5x plus 2 equals what? What do they give us here on the left side? They give us a value for x. What do you think they want us to do with that value? Plug it in. They want us to substitute. Plug in the value. So I am going to take 5 times 3 plus 2. Plugging that in. Well, what is 5 times 3? 15. Plus 2 is what? 17. If x equals 1, then 2 times x minus 4 equals what? What am I going to do with the x? Plug it in. So 2 parentheses 1 minus 4. Order of operations says do what first? Get rid of those parentheses. So what is 1 minus 4? Negative 3. Very good. What is 2 times negative 3? Negative 6. Now, the last one is kind of tricky, but it's no different. It's just a little longer. You follow the same process. We are going to do exactly what it tells us to do. If x equals negative 2, then negative 3x squared plus 4x plus 15. We are going to plug in negative 2 with parentheses every time you see the letter x. Here we go. So negative 3 instead of x, I'm going to put negative 2 squared plus 4. Instead of x, I'm putting negative 2 plus 15. Negative 3 times negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2 plus 15. Now, this becomes negative 3 times 4. Because negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. So that is negative 12. Plus 4 times negative 2, which is what? Negative 8 plus 15. Now, obviously, those of you who typed the whole thing in your calculator, you already have the answer. Okay, you type the whole thing in, you hit enter, you have the answer. Just pay attention to what I'm doing and make sure you're right. Okay, so negative 12 plus negative 8 is negative 20 plus 15. What is negative 20 plus 15? Negative 5. Number 13. The product of 24 and n is greater than negative 96. Which inequality represents the possible values for n? Let's break down the information that they're giving us. First thing they say is the product. What does product mean? Multiplication. It means we are multiplying. So it says the product of 24 and n. What does that mean? I'm going to take 24 and do what? Multiply it to n. So that's 24 times n. When a number is right next to a variable, it automatically means multiply. You don't have to put anything in between them. Let's keep reading. Is greater than. Now, it said which inequality, which means we are dealing with greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. We're dealing with the alligator. Which way is our little alligator going to face? I know they don't like the alligator, but it works. We're going to face it left. So greater than negative 96. What do we have to do to get 24 off of n? Divide. Divide by 24. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. So this becomes n. Now wait a minute. Do I have to flip the sign here? Do you guys remember that rule? Yeah. I don't know. Think about it. I'm going to remind you of the rule. The rule is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, that means the number attached to the variable has to be negative. You must flip the sign. Do I flip the sign here? No, I do not. It's greater than negative what? What's negative 96 divided by 24? Negative 4. A, B, C, or D? What do you notice about your answer choices? A and C, B and D, and the only difference is that they flip the sign. So you have to know that rule. The answer here is A. Number 14. Tom has read 11 pages of a 215-page book. He will read 6 pages each day until he finishes the book. Which equation can be used to find the number of days? D. It will take Tom to finish reading the book. This is a linear equation word problem. So we are going to be looking for the y equals mx plus b. And we are going to go through each one. First, I want to talk to you guys. I want to remind you of what you were taught, pretty much. So first things first, let's look at our word problem. Tom has read 11 pages of 215-page book, and he's going to read 6 pages each day. Now, it gives us 3 values, and we just have to determine where does each one go. Looking here, I told you guys y is always your total amount, total cost, total amount spent, how much did you spend, how much are you receiving, it's your total. M, this is your slope, but it's also your rate of change. The last one, this is our y-intercept. This is our beginning. Where do you begin? It's your base amount. Now that we know these 3 things, we can write our equation. So first off, what's our total amount? How many pages are in this book? So that's what we're going to put, 215 for the total. Equals. So he's going to read 6 pages per day. And they said use D for day instead of X. But what is he starting with? 11. He's starting with 11 pages. Question. Which of our equations has, now they might not be in the same order, but which of our equations has all of the terms that we just wrote? A, in the correct, remember, 215 has to be on the other side of the equal sign. Okay, all of them have that. Then we have 6D. Well, this one does not have 6D. And this one does not have 6D. So it's either going to be B or D. Which one? Good job. All right, let's do 15. A wire attached to the top of a 5-foot tall pole. The other end of the wire is secured to the ground 2 feet from the base of the pole. What is the length of the wire? Okay, guys, I'm going to zoom in real close. What kind of triangle is this? A right triangle. This is a right triangle. What do we use when we are solving for the missing side of a right triangle? The Pythagorean theorem. Good. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. What is the most important side of the right triangle? The hypotenuse. So we got to figure out which one is the hypotenuse. What were the two things, the two characteristics, the things I told you about the hypotenuse? It's on the opposite side of the right angle. What's the other one? It's the longest side. If it's the longest side, it's the biggest number. Those two go hand in hand. So that means we know this is C. And that means here's my two legs. So let's label. A equals 5. B equals 2. And C, question mark. Because we don't know what C is. So now we can just plug it into our formula. 5 squared plus 2 squared equals C squared. So I know that 5 squared is 25. And I know that 2 squared is 4. And then when I add 25 plus 4, what number are we going to get? 29. Before I do my last step, look at your answer choices. How do they want this answer? Very good. Always use your answer choices to tell you how far to go. So do I need to change this to a decimal? All right. What's my very last step? Take the, here we go. What you do to one side. Very good. So what is my answer? A, B, C, or D? Good. Number 16. What is the length of the segment connecting the points that have the coordinates -4, -2, and 8, 3? Your mindset immediately is like, oh, should I use the slope formula? What do I do? What if I did something like this? Do you see it now?
So smart.
What do you see? What do you see? A right triangle. So what could we use on this? The Pythagorean theorem. Very good. We know this leg is A. We know this leg is B. And we know what's the last one? C. So we are solving for the hypotenuse. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, we got to find out what is our A and what is our B. If you guys remember before when we did an example like this, we counted our hops. Count your hops. Here we go. We're going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This side is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This side is 12. So that means A is 5, B is 12, C is unknown. Very good. And now we shall substitute. All right, so instead of A, I'm going to put 5 squared plus, instead of B, I'm going to put what? 12 squared equals C squared, because we don't know what C is. And again, you could type this whole thing in the calculator. I'm going to work it out by hand. So we know 5 squared is 25 plus 12 squared, which is 144, equals C squared. 25 plus 144, you guys should have gotten 169 equals C squared. What do we do at the end?
Square root.
Take the square root. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. What is the square root of 169? 13. Where, A, B, C, or D? B, good job. Let's do number 17. Jason decorated the outside of this cylinder. What is the surface area of the cylinder in square inches? So when we did the assignment on this, The biggest issue across the board that I saw was not that y'all couldn't calculate it. It was that you kept using the wrong formula. Pay attention to what they're asking. What does it say? What is the what? So make sure you get the right formula. What is the surface area of a cylinder? Here it is right here. Surface area of a cylinder. 2 pi r times height plus 2 pi radius squared. Now we're going to label. Looking at your cylinder, what information do they give us here? What is this? That is our radius. Good. So our radius is 3. Now, I want you guys to remember the difference between radius and diameter. Diameter is the whole thing, and radius is only half. So if they give you the diameter, what do you have to do? Okay. Now, do you have to divide by 2 in this case? No. What is the height? Height equals 10. So now we have labeled. And now we can substitute. 2 times pi. Instead of r, I'm going to put 3. Instead of h, I'm going to put 10. Plus 2 times pi. 3 squared. All I did was substitute. Label, substitute, solve. No matter what formula you have, label what you have, substitute it in, solve. Before we continue working, one of the things I always tell you guys is when you are doing a multiple choice test, look at your answer choices to tell how they want you to give the answer. So look at your answer choices. How do they want this answer? In terms of pi, how do you know? The pi symbol is in the answers, right? So we're not using 3.14. We're going to multiply 2 times 3 times 10. Bring that down with your pi symbol. Plus 2 times 3 squared. So first, what is 2 times 3 times 10? 60. Bring down your pi symbol. What is 2 times 3 squared? 18. And bring down your pi symbol. Now you just add those two numbers together. Add 60 and 18, and you will have your answer. 78 pi. Now remember, area is squared. Volume is cubed. So this would be inches what? Squared. Now go over here and look at your answer choices. A, B, C, or D. B, 78 pi square inches. Good. Let's go to 18. A right triangular prism has a base area of 24 centimeters squared. Its volume is in cubic centimeters, and it is not a whole number. So they are giving us in that sentence at the top the clues we need to answer the question, which is select the measures that could be 2 of the dimensions of this prism. So we are looking for possible dimensions of the prism. Let's write down what we know. First of all, we know the base area is 24, right? What is the base? The rectangle. What is the formula for the area of a rectangle? Volume is length times width times height. But what is the area? It's just length times width. We know if area is length times width, then the base of this is 24. We know that length times width equals 24. Does it say that anywhere on here that length times width equals 24? Does it say it? No, it just says the base. But you have to know that base means length times width. We are dealing with volume. So volume is length times width times height. We also know that. So if we know length times width is 24 and volume is length times width times height, Couldn't we say that volume is 24 times height? Couldn't we say that? The volume of this prism? Length times width, that's what I'm writing. Because we know length times width is 24. So we can say whatever the volume is of this prism, it's going to be 24 times the height. The last thing they tell us that we have to, that's going to help us here, is that the volume cannot be a whole number. The volume cannot equal a whole number. It has to be a decimal. So now that we have all of our information kind of laid out here, does everybody have that written down? We're going to go through each one of these boxes, each one of these dimensions, and we're going to see which ones could work using this information. All right, let's look at this first one. So this first one, they give us the length and the width. Well, that's easy because we know the length and the width has to equal what? So if I come over here and I do, 6 times 4. Well, what's 6 times 4? So could this be a possible dimension of the volume of this prism? So check mark. Yes. Yes. All right, let's do the next one. We're going to do the same thing. Length times the width. I'm going to take the 7.5 and I'm going to multiply it to 3.5. Well, it has to be 24. What does this give you? 26.25. Not 24, right? Because it says length times width needs to be what? 24. So this does not work because it doesn't give me the 24 that I need, according to what they told me. So now we have found one. Let's look at the second column. We are here. We are looking at this column now. On the second column, can we do the same thing? Can we do length times width to get 24? No. Why not? It doesn't what? It doesn't have width. It doesn't give you the width, so you can't just be like, oh, length times width. Well, this time it only gives you the height. So instead of doing length times width, right here, we know 24 times height would give me the whole volume, right? And the whole volume cannot be a whole number. So that means I'm going to take this height. I'm going to do 24 times 2, which is the height. And it's going to give me a number. And that number cannot be a whole number. It's going to give me, this is my length times width, and this is my height. Is it not the height that it gave me? Okay, so what is 24 times 2? 48. Can this be a dimension? Yes or no? No, because it says volume cannot be a whole number, so that's not it. She's not the one. Let's go to the next one. Volume equals, we're still going to do 24 times the height. Remember, this is length times width. That's 24 times the height. What does that give me? 362.4. Question, if the volume cannot be a whole number, is this volume a whole number? No. So is this a possible dimension? Yes. Yes, it is. And here's another thing you could look at. Look at that 12. Is that not a multiple of 24? So that one also lets you know that we're on the right track with that one. All right, last column, and we're going to use the same thing. Volume equals 24, that length times width, times the height, which is 8.4. If it gives me a whole number, it cannot be a dimension. What did it give me? 201.6. Is this a dimension or no? Yes, because it is not a whole number. Last one. Let's do the same thing. Volume equals 24. Remember, that's the length times the width times our height. In this case, gave us 9. What is 24 times 9? So this is not a dimension. The 3 you should have clicked in Teacher Made. This one, and this one. Make sure you take pictures. Make sure you attach your work.